Shemai, welcome back to my wild Welsh garden. Well, I'm afraid I couldn't resist the title, What's Occurring in My Wild Welsh Garden? And of course, all those Gavin and Stacey fans out there. If you're not a Gavin and Stacey fan, you won't know what I'm talking about, but if you are, you will. The answer has to be lush. And that's the only way to describe the garden at the moment. It's just lush, it's just everything is growing like crazy. And I think this is kind of reaping the benefits of like 9 months of solid rain because the ground is saturated still and the weather is really warm. So it's absolutely ideal growing conditions and everything is just really growing. So what I'm going to do in this video really is just to share with you some of the things that have been occurring in my wild Welsh garden over the past few days. The first starlings have fledged and there's quite a few in the garden making a noise. There's one on the chimney pot there. It's going to have a peck at my bird's foot trefoil. Don't you dare damage that. Yes, at this stage they obviously realise that they're supposed to peck things sort of off the ground in places, but they're not quite sure what it is that they should be pecking, and you can see them sort of trying out various different things, but mostly they're just shouting at mum and dad to feed them. I've scattered a lot of mealworms on the ground, but they're a bit reluctant to come onto the main path. I think probably because I'm standing in the doorway of the kitchen. Something's scared them. So they're mostly in the tree now, struggling a bit to keep their balance. Yeah, you can see the tree doesn't look so well. And there's one on the little rose arch. And a little siskin there. So plenty of fledgling starlings in the garden at the moment, and the good news is that I have seen a fledgling robin, so at least one robin somewhere, well no, two robins somewhere have successfully raised at least one chick. I mean, it could even be one of the two that got away from the first brood in the watering can. And this is the breakfast room, and that's the chair that I sit in the shade to watch the butterflies. And I was sitting there the other day. I haven't seen many butterflies, I have to admit, but there was a blue tit sort of fluttering around me, being very quiet, and I did wonder. And then I saw him or her very quickly go into the nest box that's just above the chair. Yeah, there it is. Just behind the honeysuckle there. Not sure if you can see it. There you go. I can't hear anything. Anyway, I set up the trail cam and this is what I caught on camera. But I'm not going to get excited for baby blue tits just yet, because given my experience with the robins, there's an awful lot that can go wrong yet. I've just noticed that there's a lady's smock flowering just next to the bird bath. This is a little plant that I planted a few weeks ago. I've put 5 of them in the grass down here. Yes, I can't see where any of the others are that I planted, other than this one. Just the leaves there. I don't know whether they've not survived. But at least I've got one that's flowering. And there was just an insect on it, and I just missed it. I've just spotted another one there. So that's 3 out of 5 at least. And I understand that they like to grow in areas that are sort of dampish, on the damp side, and maybe even periodically flooded. So I'm going to clean the bird bath, I'm going to empty it out and give them a periodic flooding. Okay, so I was sitting here in this only little bit of shade really that there is in the garden at the moment. There is a little bit in the breakfast room, but I don't want to sit there because I don't want to disturb the blue tits. So I'm sitting here in the shade of the trellis. And I was looking at the lawn and wondering what to do with it at the end of May. And I decided that I like the whole sort of messy edge thing going on here. I like the way the lawn sort of blends into the flower bed, which is completely different to how I've always done lawns, which is to have a nice neat edge. Well, of course I would have done, wouldn't I? Because I was a conventional gardener. Anyway, I decided I like the whole messy edges thing. So I decided that I would basically mow a wide path, well, narrow at this end where it goes through the trellis, and then sort of widening out over the stone where I put the fire pit, just up to the summer house, and then I'll stand up, get out of the shadow. So just up to the summer house and over to the stepping logs and down to the path that goes down to the woodshed. And in the process I found this, which is a lady's smock, a cuckoo flower. And I didn't plant her, she came there all on her own. So how cool is that? And there's another one there. So obviously I've mowed around those. So this is what the lawn is looking like from the summer house. There's a path up one side and it leads to the path down to the woodshed there and to the stepping logs there. And then there's this lovely long meadowy area which has all sorts of things in it. Lady's smock, daisies, a white clover, red clover. There's a thistle there, not quite sure which species it is. I'll let it flower, but I don't think I'll let it seed. There's red clover here that's just coming out. I have found that red clover doesn't really work in a lawn that you keep short, even if it's not sort of bowling green short, because the flower stems do tend to be longer than the white clover and it never really flowers. Whereas the white clover has shorter flower stems, and so it has time to flower in between mowings, as long as you only mow your lawn every few weeks or so. So this way I get flowers on my red clover that I've never really had before. Just giving you an invertebrate's eye view of the lawn. It's really rather lovely, isn't it? And I've done it now, even though we're not at the end of May, because I was thinking, well, if I'm going to do no mow summer, I don't need to do no mow May, do I? And I'll keep it as it is. I mowed it on the highest setting, so it's not exactly short anyway. And then I was sitting here and I noticed that there are bees going into both of the bee hotels. I don't think it's a red mason bee. It certainly doesn't look very red. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little tubes in the old house filled up now. And she's working on the 8th. And I keep seeing bees disappearing into us, just one coming out now. Oh, I'm going in a different hole. I don't see any sign of them being filled yet. They also look a bit smaller than the bee in the old hotel. So I do understand that there are quite a few species of these bees. So it could well be 2 different species here. But I think I said in a previous video, I'm not really very good at identifying things, particularly when it gets down to the level of sort of checking hairs on the tibia and things like that. What interests me is just the bees themselves, just watching them and just having more of them and just enjoying the fact that they can come and find a home in my garden. Whatever they are, really, they're all welcome. So now I've decided that it's really difficult to film the bees going in and out of the little tubes, and I'm really too tired to stand there and too hot to stand there in the sun. So I'm back sitting down, and of course it's wine o'clock, so here I am drinking a glass of wine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here in the shade with my wine and my binoculars and watch the bees going in and out of the bee hotel. Now, what could possibly be better than that? Well, I don't think it gets much better than that, really, particularly on a nice, warm, sunny evening. And just to say that the reason why I'm making such a fuss about this lady's smock or cuckoo flower in my lawn, because I do realise it looks a very insignificant little plant. But it is the major larval food plant of the orange-tip butterfly. And like all our butterflies, it's in major decline. There is plenty of lady's smock around, you know, bits of waste ground and at the sides of the roads. But the trouble is that the council come along with their strimmers and their mowers and they cut it all down. And if the butterflies have laid their eggs on the plants, then they're never going to make it to adulthood. And it's also one of the larval food plants of the green-veined white butterfly. Now, years ago, that was just a pest, particularly to gardeners who were trying to grow brassicas, but not anymore. It's in major, major decline. So that's what I'm trying to do, really. I'm trying to help both of those butterflies by having lady's smock in my lawn. And what can I say? So far, so good. So we've had a couple of days of really nice warm weather, but I'll just show you what happened yesterday evening. Well, that was the most amazing storm last night. Thunder and lightning, the works. And I don't think I've ever seen so much rain, even for Wales. There was so much that the gutters were overflowing, and it was quite like a waterfall outside my back door. And the main path down the middle of the garden was just a river. And then it all sort of came down the stairs and the steps and then around the house. Fortunately, it didn't come in the kitchen. It found its way around the house and out onto the road because there was too much even to go down the drain. So yes, but I think that's climate change for you, isn't it? This is the kind of thing that we need to expect, sort of extremes of weather conditions. Anyway, I've been round the garden today and everything seems to have survived. Some of the more delicate weedy things sort of flopped over, but they've come back up again now. So yeah, so no harm done, and hopefully all the creatures manage to find somewhere to shelter. So thanks again. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for visiting me in my Wild Welsh garden. Thanks for all your interest and your support and your enthusiasm. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hwyl fawr.